Hey, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make a mesh zippered pouch.
Now let's go over supplies. You'll need 2 rectangles of fabric that measure 7 inches by 10 inches across, and I'm using one for the exterior, one for the lining. You can keep them the same or switch them up. When I say exterior, that's the fabric that will show on the back of your pouch, and lining is the fabric that is in here that shows behind the mesh fabric. Then I will be using a Bozal light fusible batting, which we carry in our online shop, and I have a link for you below. This is great for these types of projects, and I've cut one piece of that to match these fabrics, 7 inches by 10. Now the mesh fabric is cut to 6.5 inches by 10.5 inches, and we use By Annie's mesh fabric. We sell it in our shop as well in a ton of different colors, so the link for that is below. Then you need 2 strips of fabric that we're going to use to finish off the zipper, and these measure 1.25 inch by 10 inches. Now for the zipper, you just need a regular number 3 craft zipper, something with plastic teeth here, and you want it to be at least a 12-inch zipper. I'm working with a 14-inch, longer works great, but at least 12 inches in length. All right, so let's move these out the way and let's get started.
Now the first step is to take your exterior fabric and fuse it to the Bozal light fusible batting. If you are not using a fusible product here, then go ahead and quilt it somehow. You want the fabric and whatever the batting is you're using to be held together. Now take your piece of mesh and 2 fabric strips. We're going to take 1 fabric strip and flip it so that the pretty side is face down onto the mesh. Mine is solid, but I did that so you all could see. If you do have a print side of your fabric, flip it so it's pretty sides on top of the mesh, and then put some clips there. Notice that the mesh is a little bit bigger, and that is done on purpose. So just try and center the fabric strip so you have a little extra mesh on each side. Now let's head over to the sewing machine. I'm using a regular presser foot, an 80-12 universal needle, some cotton thread, and my stitch length is set to about 2.5 millimeters in length. Give that a press to set the stitches, then fold back on the line that you just stitched. And you have to do it little by little because the mesh is not quite as stable as the cotton fabric. And give that a quick press just to set those stitches. Then let's flip it over, smooth things out a little bit here. We're going to take the opposite edge of our fabric strip and fold it over our seam allowance, and then give that a press. Once that is nice and flat, go ahead and lift up the seam allowance and tuck under the edge you just folded over. Give that a press as well, and then we're going to flip this over. Next up, let's go ahead and grab our zipper so that we can place this bound edge that we just completed on our mesh, place it over top of our zipper tape, and we're going to head over to the sewing machine to top stitch it in place. Now you want to remove your presser foot from your sewing machine and install your zipper foot attachment if you have one. Now I'm going to turn my project around. I like to align it this way so that my needle is set up on the leftmost position on my zipper foot, and I can stitch the fabric binding down really nice and close to the zipper teeth without actually sewing on them. Now this is sort of like a top stitching, so I like to lengthen my stitch length to 3 millimeters in length for this step, and I'm stitching it close to the top first to connect it, and then I'm going to do another line of top stitching closer to the bottom, and that's kind of anchoring down the mesh, the fabric, and the zipper tape, both on the top of that fabric strip and the bottom. Then go ahead and give that a quick press with your iron to help set those stitches. And we'll grab the other fabric strip. You want to flip it so that it's pretty side of the fabric face down on top of the zipper. Line it up on the sides with the previous fabric strip. Remember, not the mesh because the mesh is a little bigger. And line it up so that the top raw edges match up. Put some pins or clips into place, making sure all the raw edges are aligned. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, still working with our zipper foot attachment, and we're going to stitch that down into place. Now we'll give that a quick press, then open it up and finger crease it to make sure all that fabric is away from those zipper teeth. Give it another press, and your mesh pocket has been prepped. Now take your mesh pocket and your lining fabric rectangle. We're going to place that pretty side face up. That's the lining. Place the mesh pocket on top. Now you should be aligning the top edge of the fabric with the top edge of the fabric on the mesh pocket. That's where you should be aligned. So remember, we started off with mesh fabric piece that was bigger than the dimensions that we really need. The mesh fabric is open and it tends to move on you. So I find, especially for beginners, that starting off with a larger rectangular piece, it works out better. So we're going to sew around all 4 sides here to connect the mesh to the front of the lining fabric. Make sure to open your zipper a little bit, and then you can continue to go around placing clips or pins to help you hold things in place. You'll see how the mesh fabric on mine is a little uneven. After I stitch it up, then we'll go back and trim it, but that's why we start off with a bigger piece. So at the sewing machine, we're done sewing zippers, so you can remove the zipper foot and go ahead and reattach whatever universal or basic presser foot you use. Then you can start anywhere on a straight side. I'm using about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, so stay really nice and close to the outer edge to connect everything. And you'll notice that the mesh fabric stretches more in one direction than the other, so be very careful not to stretch it as you're sewing. So just keep it nice and flat, smooth though, as it goes through the presser foot. And you'll notice that I like to do a few back stitches right over top of the zipper teeth, and that's just to help secure my zipper pull in place, especially after I trim things up. All right, so we sewed around all 4 sides. My zipper was open, which is key. Then at this point, go in and trim up everything. Trim up the excess zipper tape, fabric strips, mesh, whatever you had. All right, so that step is pretty easy, and believe it or not, we are almost done. Go ahead and grab your exterior fabric, the one you fused to the batting, and we're going to place these together pretty sides touching. We're going to place clips all around all 4 sides because we want to hold everything together. And of course, you would trim things up if yours don't happen to match up at this step, but they should. And then we're going to take a fabric marker because we need to mark an opening. So the opening needs to be on the top edge of the zipper. So right, the zipper is at the top of your bag. You need to leave a 2.5 to 3 inch opening along the top edge. And I just mark it there so that as I'm sewing, I know. I'm going to stitch all the way around, starting and stopping at the beginning and end of the opening. Great, so that's done. We have our opening. Next up is scissors so that we can clip our corners, all 4 corners at a 45-degree angle to get rid of some excess bulk. Now you will be going through a row of stitching, but that was the basting stitching, so don't worry about it. Then reach in through your opening, pull out all 4 corners, and flip your entire little mesh zippered pouch right side out. All right, so that is looking pretty good. Double check, your zipper works, everything looks good. Heat up your iron, then flip it over, and I like to press it from the back first just to iron out any wrinkles we may have from flipping the pouch right side out. At the top opening, I like to carefully fold under the raw edges, making sure that it is now aligned with the rest of the top edge of the bag, and give that a really good press. If you have a clapper, it definitely helps to use one in this spot. Do the same thing from the other side because sometimes because it's bulky, the fabric layers won't stay as folded. So just repeat the process to the other side as well. Make sure things are nice and crisp. Then we'll head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch just along the top edge, back stitching at the beginning and at the end. And after one final press, front and back, our mesh zippered pouch is complete. So I hope you all enjoyed watching the step-by-step video tutorial. I hope you do give it a try. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it with your friends across the different social media sites as well. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And remember, as always, if you need any of the supplies featured in this video tutorial, I've included links for you in the description box below. We carry both the mesh fabric in a ton of different colors, as well as the light fusible batting that I used in our online shop, so you can always shop with us there at craftygemini.com/shop. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.